One, we're excited to discuss today the wine reserve cabinets and just show you a couple of the features that make ours a little bit different than everybody else's that's out there. So let's take a look. We offer the cabinet in either a single zone or a dual zone, so you can have all white wine, all red wine, or if you're in your family, you want to do a combination where you have some whites and some red all in one cabinet, we have that product available for you. A huge feature of ours is the humidity control that automatically maintains a 65 to 70% humidity in the cabinet at all times. And we're going to dive into that a little deeper because this is something I think that really sets us apart, makes us different than everybody else in the marketplace, and it's something to really get excited about. The other thing is the vibrant LED lighting. A lot of our competitors, a lot of manufacturers out there say we all have LED lighting. Well, there's LED lighting, and like anything else, there's LED lighting. And ours is Hughes LED. So, what does that mean to the consumer? Well, what it is if you get a Hughes light, in fact, even light bulbs from your home, Hughes lights are more expensive, but they're as close to the color spectrum and color as possible. So if you went online, you went to a color spectrum, you'd see there's a true blue and then there's versions of it depending on filters and everything else in their environment. Well, Hughes Lights gets it as close to that pure blue or pure white as possible. That's why a lot of times if you see our cabinet set next to somebody else's, and even though they're both on blue, you'll definitely see a difference between Perlick's and everybody else's. The other thing is the uh, all stainless steel construction. Sorry, I couldn't see it because of the bar. All stainless steel construction, the way they're built, the way they're manufactured to our commercial heritage. And again, we're going to dig a little deeper into that as we go along in the presentation.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom, for that overview. And so kind of that first step or that first level of a deep dive is we'll take a look at is going to be in our soft coat glide out shelving. First and foremost, when we look at our shelving, a lot of times shelving in some other competitors seems to be an afterthought. But for us, it's, we've taken a lot of pride in the design and in the styling of our shelves themselves. So first it starts with the fact that they're a black polymer soft coated. And what that really does at the end of the day is it really protects that bottle of wine, not just from one of the many enemies of being the vibration or anything that will essentially vibrate the wine, prematurely age it. But the other level of is it really does a great job of protecting the labels of those wine bottles. The consumers that are buying these products are ones that really have a high value, expensive bottles of wines, ones that they're really protecting, bottles that are looked at as more of an investment. So if you have the wrong racks, if you have an all wooden rack, for example, imagine what that bottle would do is it's sliding back and forth every time you open up that rack. It's going to scratch the bottle. It's going to, and more importantly, in worst case, it's going to scratch those labels. So really important that, for us, having that soft coated rack really does a great job of gently cradle those bottles. The other aspect of our rack is that the fact that they're full extension and self-closing. So the full extension really helps for the ease of loading and unloading, seeing what you've got on each of those shelves. And then the soft closing, going back to one of the enemies of wine, is that agitation. So by having a soft close ensures that when it does close, those bottles aren't going to be shifting around. And then last with our shelving, one of my favorite features is actually this display shelf, which is actually convertible. The images that you see to the right show the racking up at kind of an angle, and really putting those bottles on a nice display, really put it out there in front of everyone. For people that have these kind of wine reserves or want these sort of products, have those bottles that they love to show off and put them out there. Also on the flip side, if you've got a bottle that you maybe necessarily didn't finish and you want to put it back in there, the display rack still at that angle allows you to put it back in there. Now, if you don't want to use that display rack, what I love about this rack is its versatility that now you can lay it completely flat and fill it up like a normal rack. And at the same time, actually add another level of wine shelves in there if you so choose. One of the benefits I failed to mention on the display rack when it is up in the position is that additional space for some of those dessert bottle wines. The next level of really what separates and makes a Perlick wine column far superior than a lot of the other ones out there, into what Tom alluded to earlier, is our smart humidity control. It's not that just we monitor and maintain humidity at the recommended levels of 65% or 65 to 70%, but it's how we're able to actually maintain that. But it's also understanding why is it important to maintain that right level of humidity. Best thing to look at, or one of the best visuals, is what you actually can see there in the bottom right corner. We've got a dried out cork and a heavily molded cork. If you've got an environment that's far too dry, it's going to dry your corks out, which ultimately allows oxidation to happen to your wine. On the flip side, if you've got too much moisture in there, it's going to cause your cork to build up a level of mold. And let's be honest, that isn't going to be the most appealing. And then that has potential of ruining your wine. Our wine reserves rely on, now how do we monitor that humidity? We rely on our humidistats that are constantly monitoring the humidity levels. Now, what's great about our unit, now if it senses that it's dropped below that 65 to 70% humidity level, our unit will actually introduce real moisture. And on the flip side, if the unit senses that the moisture is too low, it'll reintroduce moisture into the unit as well. Not just maintaining the cork is important with this moisture control, but it's also with the labels. Remember back when we talked about the shelving being important to protect your investment, it doesn't scratch the labels. Same thing here, is you don't want those labels to peel off. And the last, just kind of building on that humidity level and how we control that moisture, is we actually pull that moisture off our evaporator and reintroduce it with our fans. And at the same time, if it senses too much moisture, those same fans will pull that moisture out and pull it out of that system. So at the end of the day, just ensuring that we're preserving the units or preserving the wine as best as possible. So from here, I'm going to pass it over to Tony, and Tony's going to take you a deeper dive into our glass.
Okay. So our glass is really quite remarkable. It's a heavy duty triple pane glass. And Tom, I always ask you this, but what's the thermodynamic difference between 2 panes of glass and 3?
100% more efficient.
Yeah, so just from the actual operational standpoint, having 3 coats of glass make it seem like that's a solid door to the materials on the inside. So it also makes it very heavy. That door is like 120 pounds all by itself. The outer glass is a solar bronze coated. It's for UV resistance to keep the light that we don't want in the cabinet out of the cabinet. And it filters up as much as 38% just on that or that exterior piece of glass with that bronze coating. Light exposure can cause oxidation in the wine, as we all know, but the other part that Wilson talked about, it will yellow labels and ruin the value of that wine if you ruin the label. All our glass panes are low E argon filled, here again for superior insulation and thermal dynamics. We have the vibrant LED lighting that Tom was referring to earlier. We have adjustable lighting that is white and an exclusive blue on the interior. Blue is something that shows very well, and from a standpoint of display, it will make it stand out over all the other wine storage just by illuminating a separate color. So people seem to be attracted to that blue. I wish we had a great storyline on how it preserves your wine better, as some are trying to do out there, say that there is value in it, but it really is an aesthetic thing. It matches the blue if you have an undercounter, so that you can see it as long as it's fully illuminated. But even the blue is adjustable in 20% increments from 20, 40, 60, 80, and 100%. The lighting rolls on when the door is open, and it so that you don't get hit with an immediate flash of light. It just rolls on, makes it much easier on your eyes. And the light runs all the way up and down the sides, as well as the light in between each of the zones. So it makes viewing of all your wine very, very well. When you open the door, even if it is blue, all light will come on at 100% to make the interior as illuminated as possible. So whenever you open the door, it defaults to that. The Pearl IQ touchscreen is the same type of technology that is in our refrigerators and in our freezers. It goes to black when it's not in use. But it is designed for ease of use is kind of an understatement. All you have to do is know that a white illuminated glass means white wine. A dark illuminated glass means that it's a red wine, and two bottles of wine next to each other make it a cellar mode. So those three pre-programmed functions are in your unit, but they are also fully adjustable within 1 degree increments if desired. So they are specifically designated with preset settings for each of those wines. And here's what the set points are. So in red wine, it is set at 60 degrees. In white wine, it is set at 50 degrees. And in a cellar mode, it is set at 55 degrees. So here again, for a storage unit, 55 is an ideal temperature. But if this is a serving unit, here again, those are preset in there, and the temperature ranges go all the way down to 40 degrees and all the way up to 68 to give you full flexibility if you want to use it as a serving unit. When you look at the capacity on the inside, you'll see 94 bottles on a single zone and 86 bottles in a dual zone. But as Wilson suggested, that display rack can be tipped down and have additional rack added so that you can get an additional 11 bottles on the inside if you'd like. So you can actually enhance the capacity of it if you like.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that deeper dive, Tony and Tom. And I really just want to appreciate everyone's time today as we took a deeper dive into the Perlick Wine Reserve units. Thank you all very much and have a great day.